Hi, and thank you for showing up to my free case studies of different women who have lost weight as part of my 6 week program. And the reason I wanted to share this with you is how I know women always compare themselves to other women, how they're more successful, how they can do that, and why am I doing something wrong? And if you feel any of those statements when you've looked at other coaches and other women, this is for you because this is going to tell you the scales why they don't tell the full story. I use them every single day with my clients, but they don't tell the full story. They're only information. So a little bit about me. I've been lucky enough to be coaching for 10 to 12 years now. And I spent the first half of my life coaching Olympians and Paralympians in the high performance system. And for the last 3 to 4 years, I've been specialising working in women. I realised how much women has kind of come from a very damaged eating food relationship, eating disorder based relationship, judgment of their bodies, shaming themselves, and feeling the pressure to be a certain shape and size. I've come from a position where I've had eating disorders. I had bulimia at one point in my life. I've been very underweight and I've struggled with that. And I struggle with self image and I'm very mental health aware. I do a lot of work with that if you know me personally. Um, and I wanted to bring that to women because I just tend to understand women. That's the one comment I always get. You understand me, you understand my problems. Because at the end of the day, my service is all built around support. I don't believe in people struggling. They get a program and they're just left to their own devices. I don't believe that's how it should work. I believe in being there by your side every single day because when you're paying for a premium service, you deserve a premium coaching service to back that up. Not just here's a code program, off we go, like it does. I see it so often and I aspire and I deliver on that it's not like that. So in this case study's view, if you felt like any of these, you try losing weight before and it's never lasted, you hate seeing the scales not move, and you feel no matter how hard you try, you always end up giving up. So my first client, Mrs. I, so she lost 9 pounds in 12 weeks and a total of 42.5 centimeters off her body. And as you can see by this graph, it's been very up and down, and this is actually very, very normal. A lot of people would expect big jumps of 4 to 5 pounds every single week, but that's just not how it happens. Because when you do it that way, you're more likely to fall off the wagon because you're hungry, you're craving, you're not losing the right kinds of weight. Because weight and fat are not the same thing. Weight indicates that fat loss might be occurring. Not is, it might be occurring. There's lots of different things that will kind of mask that. So, Mrs. I's journey was not very easy. At one stage, her weight actually stayed the same for 9 days. For 9 days, her weight stayed the same. Then it had the cheek to go up by a pound. You can't believe how pissed off she might have been because it's like, I'm working so hard and being perfect every single day and nothing's budging. That is where my support came in massive handy. We talked it through, we worked on her stresses, we kind of reflected on what she was experiencing, we explained why something might be happening because, and I'll talk about this more at the end. So just bear in mind the whole idea is that 3,500 calories is in a pound of fat. Bear that in mind. She had to fight things like this on a daily. So cake and work. There was a 30th one day. There was a 60th one day. There was someone's leaving do one day. And then she wanted a few wines during the Easter holiday because she had no routine. So she wanted to have a few wines in the garden because the weather was nice. She wanted to have friends who were having health related issues. So they wanted to celebrate together. All these things could slow her scales, but she was living her life. She didn't have to live under a rock. She attended all these events from a niece's party to family outings. She didn't have to live under a rock, and she still lost all this weight. She could lose more if she didn't have a social life, but that's not living, and I don't do coaching that way. So even when it sucked and it felt like what was the point? She never gave up. She lost 42.5 centimeters off her body. If you could see her pictures right now, you will see how big a difference there finally is. But even people at her work are commenting on her. But it took 12 weeks for her to get there. Weight loss is not an enjoyable experience half the time, but that's why you need the support so you don't drop out before you're ready to go. And one of my newest clients, CC, I'm going to call her. So she actually is what everyone would dream of. She lost massive amounts of weight very quickly. And she's actually lost the same amount of weight as my previous one in just 4 weeks. So a third of the time. And she's lost nearly the same weight off her body, okay? But there's a difference in this woman, okay? This woman's late 50s. She's in a stressful managerial role. She's always on her feet. There's 15,000 steps every single day coming out of this woman. Whereas the previous client, she's lucky if she gets 7 to 8 because she sits behind a desk all day. She had to deal with Easter panic buys, bank holiday work. Everything is running through her. She has to run everything. This woman does not stop. So her progress started fast and it's begun to slow. But you know what? This is so normal. And people will be like, oh, but now I'm doing something wrong. It's not broke. We're not going to have to fix it. Weight loss happens quicker at the beginning. There's water retention that you had before. There's more food in your stomach than you had before. There's all these different things that happen and weight just shifts off very, very quickly. And it's not fat 9 times out of 10. Some of it is, not all of it. Big thing with this client here, her aim now is actually not just about the weight loss. She's feeling good that the inches are coming down, and lots of them so far. More of her body is coming, more of the weight is coming off in terms of inches as opposed to the scale. So this is good indication, but this is probably better for her to track in the long run. But what we're actually working on now is working on improving her meal quality and showing her how not to track for the rest of her life. She doesn't want to have to use MyFitnessPal ever again. That's what I teach people. Most coaches teach you how to lose the weight. I teach you how to keep the weight off without tracking. And my last one, JC, and this is probably the one that some of you might relate to more so. So she's only lost 3 pounds in 4 weeks, but she has lost 21.5 centimeters off her body. And if you see the photos of her, you can see such a huge difference in her waist, her hips, and bits like that, particularly. All right. So she's 24 years old, very, very active. And this is a really important thing. She does the most intense training out of the lot. So the other two, one doesn't train, and the other one only does 2 training sessions a week. And she's not really a fan favorite of the gym. The scales didn't move as much for JC. All right. She noticed the difference in her strength and her body confidence, though. She wore a t-shirt that she never would have thought of dreaming. It was a shorter top. It wasn't quite a crop top, but it was shorter than she's used to. And it was colourful, not just the bog standard black clothing that we all wear to make ourselves look slimmer. We talked about a few things here. So this spike here, right, in weight. Okay, so she is losing weight. Okay, you can see this downward trend. This spike here of nearly a pound and a bit, that's her cycle. She was due on. She is heavily impacted by her hormonal cycle, and she holds more water and fluid. That is perfectly natural. But if we know this is the case, we can track every 4 weeks when this occurs, and we can start to see it's starting to trend downwards again. It's not moving as fast as she might have liked, and it's that disheartening because she'll have medical appointments where they have to check her weight and they expect her to be lighter. But at the end of the day, she's starting to see outside the scales what she's doing. Her strength, her body image in terms of her photos, her measurements going down. All these things are showing her she is losing fat because fat is taking up space. That is why measures and photos are far more important. She can feel it in her clothes. So if I told you I can make you lose a dress size, clothing size, feel better in any piece of clothing without losing a bit of weight, would you do it? So why do these stories matter? Weight does not equal fat. So here's that classic example. 2 people, exactly the same weight of 80 kilo. One is 20% body fat, one is 35% body fat. They will look drastically different. That's why it's hard to compare the amount of weight someone loses, but as well as how heavy someone is. Weight changes day to day. Things like water retention, things like food in your stomach, things like did you go to the toilet that period of time? Hormonal changes, stress, sleep, all these things impact your weight. Body fat doesn't change day to day. If anything, it actually takes weeks upon weeks to actually show up because there's 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. If you had a 500 calorie deficit, which actually is quite a hard deficit to achieve, right? If you weren't doing any social events, that's probably quite achievable. But if you were living a normal life and in a deficit, you're probably about 200 to 300 calories. If you did 7 days of 500 calories, then you would only have lost 1 pound of fat in 7 days. Yes, that will add up massively across the year. So let's say we halve that. It's going to take 2 weeks at 250 calorie deficit to shift a pound of fat. That sounds really slow, but you'll lose 2 pounds of pure fat in a month. So in 2 months, you lost 4 pounds of it. And that could explain why it's going slower in terms of the weight sometimes, but also why you might see way more coming off your body than you realise. And this is the thing, your story is going to be unique. These 3 show you how one can drop weight very quickly and then it kind of stagnates off. One had to fight tooth and nail for 12 weeks to get a shift in it, but actually her body and her images showed more results. And then the other one, the weight barely changed, but she saw massive changes in her inches on her body. Your story is going to be different as well. You might drop 6 pounds of fast initially, or you might spend 4 weeks losing absolutely nothing, and then eventually you need new jeans. How does that happen? Or you might get stronger, leaner, and more confident without losing a single pound. It might happen. Don't panic. That's why having a coach beside you to help you justify, explain, feel your emotions, but also deal with them is really important. Progress is happening. You'll often stopping before you're ready to even see the results. You're sabotaging yourself because you stop too many times. And these are just some of the other results of women I've got. These aren't the clients in this video. These are previous clients I've had and ones that still work with me. All of them had a very different journey. Different ages, different journey, different starting point, but fantastic results all around. So if you've listened to this and thought, I want a piece of that cake and I want to get my own story started, then do me one thing. I'm launching my 6-week challenge again soon. I haven't set a release date yet, but I'm starting to build up my shortlist. People on my shortlist will get a special entry price, especially for being on this case study. So do me one thing. DM me the word case free. I'll add you to my shortlist. You don't have to take the position, but you secure yourself at a better price apps at the challenge. I hope this has helped, guys. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll speak to you soon.